It's cool. It's just us here. Yeah, it's just me and you. And we're being timed. So, just like we always are in conversation. Rebecca is going to get the timer going. And then at about 9 minutes, Rebecca will, so you'll hold the timer up so that we can kind of have a sense of how much time we've occupied. This is not the time to rebel, artists, by the way, in terms of the timing, okay? You've been told. So, rebel everywhere else but here. So, Rebecca is going to hold up a timer for us to give us a sense, and at 9 minutes, she'll give us a little ding so that we know that we should wrap up. And then after this, Erin will be in conversation with Elizabeth Travels Light.
Oh, great.
And it will cascade on from there. Okay. Erin.
Hi.
It's so good to see you.
You too. Here we are.
Just me and you here with
just like we're
microphones.
at that bar we talked at.
Yeah. Except there's microphones and we're being recorded and we're in front of an audience, but it's totally the same otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So, Erin, I want you to talk a little bit about how you got involved with developing anti-eviction mapping project, which is here. I also want you to know, gentle viewers, that you're welcome to get up and wander around the show if you feel like you need to move. You can wander around the show and eavesdrop on us at the same time. So Erin's work is here. You work with many other people. Can you talk a little bit about how many people are involved? It's a rotating group maybe, or has it been a steady group of people the whole time?
Yeah, it's rotating. So I work with the Anti-Eviction Mapping Project, which is a data visualization, data analysis, and oral history telling collective. We've been around since 2013. I co-founded it with 3 other friends, one of them still involved in the project, Jennifer Fieber. But it's grown tremendously since then, and there are, I don't know how many people are involved because people come and go, and it's a volunteer-run project. We have no staff. Sometimes 15 people might show up to a meeting, sometimes 2 people. We have 3 groups of people working on the project. We have folks doing oral history work in Alameda County, in Oakland, Fremont, and the city of Alameda. We have folks doing oral history work in San Francisco, and then we have people working on data viz on both sides of the bay. So we have sort of 3 groups or types of meetings that we engage in. So
how often do you guys get together?
We have 6 meetings a month, and then a lot of other informal one-on-one meetings, or if people are working on a particular project, they'll meet on their own time in different places. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to go back a little bit further and talk, and I already know this story well, so I'm asking you a question I already know the answer to, but I want you to talk a little bit about how you got involved in coding. I know, you think it's weird that I love this story. I love this story.
Well,
Tell them.
I don't consider myself a great coder. I learn as I go. My story is kind of funny. I did my undergrad in Massachusetts, and I studied photography and painting. I got out before, in 2004, before there were sites like WordPress and whatnot to create personal artist websites on. So I had no money and spent a lot of time in a local Barnes & Noble bookstore reading really silly books on, HTML. So I don't know. I don't know that my skills have developed that much since then. I think a little bit, but there are a lot of people who get involved in the project who are much better developers and
so you're reading
than
things
me.
like Dummies
I was
Guide
reading
to Coding?
Yeah, this was in 2005,
Dummies Guide to HTML?
2006.
Is that a book?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There are different editions. Every year there's a new edition, and now you can read all that stuff online, but that was, over 10 years ago.
I know, because there's no bookstores. There's so
no
few bookstores now
yeah.
to stand around.
And those weren't great bookstores then, but, but it was what I had access to.
So can you talk about what the impetus was for organizing the anti-eviction mapping project and how the initial group of people sort of decided to do something?
Yeah, so it really began as an idea in 2012 when a lot of different people that I was in community with were facing eviction. It was around the same time that a group of us got together and also started a group called Eviction Free San Francisco, which emerged in 2013 as a direct action group to provide a mutual aid model to help people fight displacement and keep people in their homes and hold speculators and landlords accountable. But we wanted really just to see where the evictions were so we could figure out how to engage in direct action campaigns. So the mapping project began as an idea really just to make one map. It was our first Ellis Act eviction map, which kind of put us on the map. But then after mapping all the Ellis Act evictions in San Francisco from 1997 onwards, we realized there were so many other things that we could do, including research around these LLCs and these big sort of corporate entities responsible for a lot of displacements, but also there's so many other ways that people get displaced, and there are so many stories that a simple dot on a map can't tell. So the project really evolved to keep on doing more than we had been able to do thus far, and it's still growing. We're doing a lot of work right now, like I said, in Alameda County. I just finally got all of Oakland's rent board data after struggling for a year to get that, so yeah, there's a lot that we haven't done yet.
So you're moving towards the East Bay, and is that a kind of a wave that you're following?
Well, it's funny, we actually were working in the East Bay largely from the beginning, but we had a really hard time getting Oakland's data because Oakland's rent board has been really difficult to work with. There is this wave that people talk about, of course, of displaced San Franciscans ending up in Oakland, contributing to cycles of gentrification there, but there's so many other stories too, and it's actually a lot more complex than that. If you actually look at this huge wave of displacement in Oakland, it was during the foreclosure crisis that I think the most people actually were displaced from their homes. So the story is actually complex, and we're trying to figure out the best way to tell that story. And I think there are a lot of models we can learn from what we've done in San Francisco, but also Oakland and Fremont and the city of Alameda are unique places and also require their own methodologies and approaches. So.
I'm in San Leandro. Will you also come to San Leandro?
Next year.
It's the only town that's actively courting gentrification that I can see. Like they're like, come to us, come gentrify us.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
we're getting
yeah.
our Burning Man, our first Burning Man sculpture this
That's
summer.
not a good
Our first.
sign.
I mean, I don't know if there's more to come, or it's a 55-foot tall piece, a sister to the one that was at Treasure Island. So it'll fit right in.
Is your mayor friends with Libby Schaff?
I assume they must be.
They must
yeah.
be friends. Yeah.
Maybe they burn together.
They probably do.
Yeah, I don't know. So, Erin, can you talk about, and I imagine you've had many meaningful conversations with people or exchanges with people about the work that you do. Can you tell us one or two stories of really times when the work has been made really meaningful to you?
Sure. So I think when we can actually research one of these very evasive LLCs and put a name to it, and if that can actually help a tenant engage in direct action to stay in their homes, I find that meaningful. Probably a lot of people have seen the story of Benito Santiago, a good friend of mine, but he was being evicted by Pineapple Boy LLC, and we didn't know who that was. So our research was able to show that it was actually this guy who was a co-founder of Vanguard Realty, which is one of the biggest real estate companies in the Mission, and he's a serial evictor. This was one of, I think this was his 5th building that he was evicting. But because we could figure out who he was and what these different weak points were, we could actually go inside Vanguard and engage in direct action. And the 4th time we did a sit-down in Vanguard, the real estate agents actually kind of violently pushed us out, and I think they were so scared after that we would sue them that they withdrew the eviction. So it was a combination of direct action and research that I think led to Benito and the other folks on his street, on DuBois Street, being able to stay in their home. And then we were able to get the Community Land Trust to come in and buy that. So now it's effectively off the market. So that's sort of an ultimate victory, I suppose. Yeah.
And you talk about direct action in combination with the work online. They're intrinsically connected, right, for you?
Yeah. We only began the project because we wanted it to be that.
To be direct action.
To be able to fuel direct action movements and to help provide organizers and activists and tenants fighting to stay in their homes with different tools so that they could do so.
We have a great video that Ben Leon has produced for Yerba Buena with you. Real quick, like 2-minute video talking about you beginning your first sort of experience with direct action. Can you talk a little bit about that as a preview to our 1-minute video?
Yeah.
Don't talk too long.
Well, it was very. I wasn't expecting to. Oh, maybe I don't have to.
Last call.
Am I
This is
done?
a working experiment, by the way. When I stand up, I'm going to reposition the chairs. Okay, tell me about the direct action.
Oh, I wasn't going to talk about this here, but he asked what my first experience with direct action was, and I was involved in tree sitting over 10 years ago in Northern California, and that was where I learned certain direct action tactics and skills, and it was a really problematic and flawed movement, but I learned how to problematize it and also learned how to engage in different direct actions where you actually put your body on the line to prevent something bigger than you from literally bulldozing through. So I think that was useful, and I also learned that it was a very white male movement at the time and became very critical of that. So, yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Erin. I'm going to invite Elizabeth Travels Light up now, and I'm going to reposition the chairs.
Oh, I thought I was going to sit in that chair. Okay.
You can stay in the chair you're in, but I'm just